Part 2. Under the quiet, still darkness, Big Lot lay. From her tiny corner she peered with narrow eyes at Adam from afar. Most of the lantern's illumination had faded as many slavers retired for the night. Nestled contentedly by the glowing light, the sound of the slavers' soft snoring on thin wool mats filled the building. With what little of the light reached Big Lot glistened in her eyes, like a spark shimmering in a pool of reflective water. She retained an unwavering gaze on Adam, who, alongside with Bill in their own congested section of the waiting area. Her little heart started to beat at a greater pace. The moment was coming to strike. Glancing briefly at the three scurrying slavers gathered around the last glowing lantern, she listened to them, chuckled, and muttered to one another. The empty bowls he had been given lay next to her left hoof. Staring into the dull steel reflection was distorted and warped. Carefully taking the bowl in between her hooves, the little filly turned the disc to its side till the rim touched the tile. Finding one of the more larger gaps in the white tiles below, she dug the edge of the bowl into the gaps. Using the lever, she pried up pieces of the floor. Every time she would pry another piece from the ground, it would break or shatter, causing her to search again for other cracks of significant size. Along the tiles placed along the wall, she found a large crack in the tile, more than an inch diameter. Launching the rim into the crack, she pushed down the opposing end of the bowl, propping up the jagged tile piece. Unlike the others before, the piece was more firm and solid, bolstering an arrow shape with large barbed-wire edges. She inspected the sharp point at the tip of the piece. It was lighter than some of the other fragments, as well as more dagger-like in appearance. It was no knife, nor was it anything close to a reliable weapon, but it would have to do. A smile stretched across her face, reaching to nearly both her ears, and with a slow turn of her head, she cast her large, narrow eyes onto Adam. With her makeshift dagger and hoof, she picked herself up and onto her hooves. She hissed as the splinters in her back cried out in burning agony. Wincing at each searing prick in her back, she took a loose end of her chain in her mouth and discreetly stepped over the ponies in front of her. The iron of the chains tasted salty and vile, like the heavily saturated brine of the sea. Sporting a rather stiff figure, she hobbled around on one hoof, painfully suffering from the tiny wooden nails embedded into her back. Stepping over each slave between her and Adam, she bit down on the cold chain links. Reaching her hoof over the last slave, only 4 feet from where she stood was Adam. No longer did anything else stand in her way. The path was open, and the prize was in reach. Dropping the chain from her mouth, she quickly spit out the bitter taste of old metal from her mouth. Adam had his back facing her, with Bill laying just on the other side of him. Faster and faster her little heart beat as the moment of satisfying revenge approached. Placing the bomb edge of the tile dagger in her mouth, she took light, small steps as she honed in on her target. And then, only a few feet away from Adam, she stumbled forward. Tripping, Big Lot dropped the dagger before briskly catching herself on her hooves. Flying through the air, the dagger landed a few inches from her mouth. "What the heck?" she grunted under her breath, desperately turning around to see what had tripped her. Standing up again, she stepped forward, only to find the chain tugged on her neck. Looking down at the sturdy iron restraint, she took one of the links in her mouth and pulled on it. The chain pulled tightly back, returning her to her sleeping prey only feet away from her gritted teeth. Grinding the molars in her jaw, Big Lot pulled again at the chain, hoping to gain some slack. Again and again she pulled, yielding no positive results. Burning fury boiled inside her chest, sending fuming heat flooding into her face. Her cheeks and brow turned crimson with hate as little veins along the sides of her head bulged. Swiftly looking to the dagger, she took it in her mouth. Grunting, snorting, and furiously pulling on the chain, she tried to reach out. Each tug seemed to accelerate the anger's effects on her judgment. Her entire body was consumed with tempered rage, ready to burst from her mouth. "Why won't you die?" she hissed, forcibly trying to break free from the chain locked onto her collar. Adam's ears twisted at the sound of distressed movements of the filly. Raising his head slowly from the ground, Adam groggily blinked, scanning the area for the frantic combination of rattling chains and furious grunts. When his eyes saw Big Lot, Adam raised an eyebrow at her. "What are you doing?" "Shut up, you!" Big Lot bellowed, pulling at her chains desperately. Rubbing his eyes, Adam had, "Really, what are you doing?" "That's none of your business," she retorted. Adam turned his head to the slavers, who had their heads looking in the general direction, eyebrows raised and facing him. You need to settle down, Big Lot. If you don't calm down, they'll hear. No! She snapped. You and your friends murdered my uncle. You village me. Adam reeled back slightly at harsh remarks. I did what? You and Mr. Comax murdered him. You'll pay, I swear it. The slavers, with their hazy eyes, glared at the two slaves. Oi! One of the slavers shouted, rising. You two! Rallying over to the 2 ponies, Adam turned to Big Lot. Urgency charged his words as he gestured her to leave with his hoof. Big Lot, go back to your spot! I don't want it to hurt! Big Lot's eyes went wide, as her entire body went deathly still. Trailing behind her, the first slaver that had spotted him was the unicorn stallion that had been before. It's him, she whimpered. Adam looked over his shoulder at the 2 slavers who stumbled around, stepping over sleighs. You need to go back. Now! Big Lot took the tile dagger in her mouth and shook her head, crossing low to the ground. No, he dies tonight! She mumbled with the dagger in her teeth. The first slaver came to Adam, cheeks red and eyes aglow with mounting rays. You! He exclaimed, seizing Adam by the mane. What's going on here? The second slave drew a splintering bludgeon from the loop and blared, barring, turning over Big Lot. The unicorn slaver snickered. You again? Didn't you learn the first time, missy? The skin on Adam's skull painfully stung as the slaver pulled on him. Behind his little lip, Adam grunted. Leave her alone! She didn't do anything! The slaver yanked Adam's mane. Shut it! Big Lot held her stance as the slaver waved her thrusting tool like a pendulum in the air. On the slaver's face, a grin grew as he cooed slightly to her. Little one, do you need another lesson, do you? She backed up, holding the dagger out. Raising his hoof, the slaver swiftly smacked her across the cheek, causing her to fall to the side, sending the tiny weapon crashing to the ground. A simmering sting increased her cheek, trembling vigorously. Big Lot tried to stand. Now, the slaver scoffed, raising the bludgeon high above her head. This time I'll beat you until you can't see straight no more. The searing pain of his scalp made collective tears pull at the corners of Adam's eyes. Staring at the slaver rise, his weapon made something snap at him. A voice, soft but draining of spirit, totally spoke to him. Never again, Adam. Don't let it happen to her too. A flash cast itself before his eyes. The scene of breeze hurried him in a quaint little wine store in Arcan. Cyrus was above her, knife ready to dig into her chest as he laughed thunderously. The heat of the fire was still great. Even the dark, eerie shadows cast off the broken windows were as livid as they once were. But that urge to look up and sit idly as someone else was being hard right before him didn't pervade his emotions. Where he urged the act, the Lord's fort felt spark deep within, jerking his hind legs out, the slaver grabbing his mane, and bucked his suppressor right in the chest, knocking the air out of him. Slaver caused his torso, collapsing to the ground, wheezing hoarsely. Grinding his teeth together, glaring at the second slaver, Adam crouched himself low to the ground before he lifted the slaver, ready to carelessly beat the little filly. Making contact with the slaver's side, both he and Adam fell to the ground as the bludgeon too came tumbling down with them. Stepping over the unicorn slaver, Adam looked deeply into the slaver's eyes, pressing his muzzle against the slaver's cheek. The slaver could feel the heat of Adam's face irradiate into his fur as the angry buck snored in his face. I said, leave her alone, Adam barked, making the slaver close his eyes and shield his head with his forelegs. A clamorous uproar came from the other slavers as they stomped their way to the over now weakened slaves. Steadying the grip of Split-Tooth, with puffed cheeks and narrow eyes, he pounded the ground most furiously. What happened here? Split-Tooth exclaimed, stepping up to the scene. Adam took a few steps back from the slaver he had attacked, saying nothing. Where? Split-Tooth demanded with a gruff growl. Both of the slayers Adam had engaged rose to their hooves. The one he had bunked in the chest rubbed his sore, throbbing breast. This one here. The slaver groaned, motioning to Adam. He did this. Glaring at Adam, Split-Tooth snarled. Why did you do this to my boys now, pup? Answer me! Adam lowered his head, gazing at the floor. My fault. I started talking to this filly here when she got angry at something I said. When your men came, I tried to tell them to leave her alone. What then? Splittooth replied. They didn't leave her alone, Adam murmured. Drawing out his face, Splittooth slammed himself into his silence, cranium. Lowered the buck's head, the Splittooth raised his lips against Adam's ears. Now, listen here, Bob. I'm broad-type business. All of you are my property until I says you. If I can't have my slaves bickering than like. Turning the slaver to a blood and Splittooth barked. I used to know better. This here filly is one of my most valuable pieces of muds. And you're all gonna be here like a rag doll? What sapper's gonna buy a slave with a dozen bruises on her back and a broken leg? Lying his ears, the slaver lowered his gaze. Well, ain't nothing to say, you dumb fuck, Splittooth growled. Facing the slaves, his men, Splittooth boomed. Listen up! Mo, we get to the dark mines, and I don't want some groggy, half-drained rot stumbling about. Pointing to Adam, Splittooth said, Take this one here and link him up with that other pup. Boss, link him? Where? The slaver asked, massaging his chest. Splittooth rolled his eyes. Anywhere. A broom closet. An office somewhere. Get creative. There's no wrong for them two ponies and linked away from the others for the night. He got real black as the slaver went to the cart. What are you doing here with us? Emery said. I'm not sure. He muttered under his breath. I'm not sure. From out of the cart, the slaver took a small length of chain in his mouth. Adam could feel his heart beat at an increasingly growing pace, while the road ahead seemed uncertain. A bubbling in his stomach made a warmth wash over him, covering his body in a blanket of positivity. Linked or not, whatever it was may be irrelevant. He was going to get out, one way or another. Yet the uncertainty of it all persisted deep within him, making his heart beat faster and faster. In the gentle stillness of the night, Neo twisted and turned in his sleep. Around him, moldy dirt lay hidden and covered as the ground, as his friends lay beside him, contentedly resting in an alcove upon the barn's wall. On their sides they slept, seemingly undisturbed by the constant winding of Neo's body. A little of the blue glowing light from the moon above the clouds seeped down into the world, beaming into the barn through a series of cracks in the ceiling. All around the central space of the building, the tiny, lavishly illuminated pillars graciously graced the area, catching the smoke drifting up into the air from the dying embers of the smoldering fire. Wester was the only one not present in the alcove. He stood next to the barn doors, peering out through a crack of a single open held, slightly ajar by his hoof. The tender light of the moon glistened against his visor as he held his head aloft, staring at the broken cloud layer above. Neo opened his eyes, staring at the creaking wooden floor where the zebras of Tiger Company rested. Not in the slightest did he feel tired, nor did his eyes feel the least bit heavy or body weak. He sighed heavily, letting the cool night air fill his lungs before sitting up slowly. Snoring, Neo rubbed the back of his neck and looked down at the soft hay coating the floor beneath him. Briefly scanning the area around him, Neo stood up on all fours, slightly tapped lightly to Wester. Wester's armored ears flicked in the air as Neo drew near. Not sleeping well? He whispered, visor fixed on the sky above. Yeah, Neo replied. I don't feel tired at all, to be truthful. Neo sat down on his haunches and looked at his armored friend with a raised eyebrow. Why are you up still? I mean, I know you didn't sleep much, but you've got to sleep sometime. Wester took in a deep breath. I was tired tonight. Then why don't you sleep? Asked Neo. Your safety comes first over my needs, and I don't trust Tiger Company. Wester replied. Neo gazed at the dim light slicing through the crack in the open door. Do you mind if I step outside for a moment? Maybe the fresh air will clear up my head. Bringing his visor away from the sky, Wester looked at Neo. I'm not sure. Neo smiled at him. I'll stand by the doors. I promise I won't be long. Wester stood silent for a moment, contemplating Neo's request. With one hoof, Wester pushed the door next to him slightly, opening it for him. Wester gave a stern nod. Neo walked through the door and out into the night. Crickets softly chirped in the hills around the barn. For once, the air was unstirred by a soft breeze or a draught. It was still, almost deathly so. White, eerie, bleeding veins of penetrating moonlight fractured the gray clouds overhead, like the moon itself was forcing its way through them. Standing a few feet away from the door Wester stood posted at, Neil found a place to sit. Like his friend, he too turned to the eyes of the sky. Never was the moon or sun visible. Only the light or the other gave falling through the mired gas of the cloud's dense mass. Every ounce of Neil's body was teeming with glittering life. His hoof was trembling. His heart was beating at an alarming rate as a hollow weight plunged heavily into the bottom of his stomach. Light glistened in his eyes as the thoughts of his brother poked his mind. Adam, his mind thought, I failed to protect you. Suddenly, Neil felt an unnatural warmth move to his side. Quickly turning to his source, Bloodstrider had appeared next to him out of nowhere. Jumping slightly, Neil reeled back. What? Neil gasped. Staring at Neil with his blindfolded eyes, Bloodstrider cocked his head to the side. Did I frighten you? Neil felt his heart race even greater than it had before. Placing hoof over it, he scowled at the terror subsided. A little. That's kind of creepy. What? Bloodstrider asked. Me being here? Neil shook his head. No, I didn't mean that. I meant, well, the whole, Seaver's chief replied with a nod. I'll make it a note to not do that in the future quite so often. Raising an eyebrow, Neil said, Why are you here? How did you get past Lester? There is a back entrance, and as for my reasons, I am, the same as you, out here to clear my mind. Westbriar answered. Of what? Tomorrow I leave my kin behind. It is like saying farewell to everything. When I depart, I reflect on my current stance in time. It eases my mind. You don't have to come with us, Neil replied. You can stay here with them, here, or wherever you travel. With a quick shake of his head, Buster sighed. I'm afraid I cannot. I and all of my people are indebted to you two. I must aid you in your quest to find your brother. Then, and only then, can I return to my family. Looking at the mist-like glare staring in the clouds, Neil nodded as the weight persisted to sink in his stomach. Are you going to ask why I'm out here? You have your reasons. That is, unless you wish to share. Well, Neil mumbled, fumbling the back of his head. It's my brother. I'm worried about him, and sleeping doesn't get me closer to rescuing him. Footstrider hummed. How is it that you lost him? Neil remained silent for a moment. The weight within him had begun to ache as the memory of the argument the two of them flashed before him. We were trapped by a bunch of hellhounds in a building. We were all tired, upset, on the brink of snapping wildly at each other. But it was my brother and I seemed to have most tension between us, and I said some things I shouldn't have, things I regret. A certain amount of reassurance resonated in the chief's words as he spoke to him. Regret can be a painful thing, especially when it is still fresh. Much like a wound that burns and stings the mind. But until you realize the pain is not there, and the wound is healed, it will no longer hurt. Neil's eyes scanned the sky before he shook his head. I don't understand. Do you mean I have to let it go? Forget about him? Not at all, my friend, the Seabird chuckled. Rather, move on from what was in the past. Your mind shouldn't have you believe that the wound is still being made as we speak, when in reality it is not. And that is the cruel lingering of the past. So I need to move on from the argument? Bloodstrider nodded, giving a tender smile. Yes. But if I look to the future, what if I fail him again? What if I... Seabird rested a hoof on top of Neo's head. Well, I think... No, I can't. Will you believe? Yes, I can. This is the first step to fully acknowledging the wound is healed, to ignore what might be, and focus on what should be. Blinking at the hoof that lay peacefully on top of his mane, Neo pulled back. How do you know it works? Seaver pointed her blindfold. I cannot see what is ahead, nor what is once in the past. I only hear what is now, and feel what is now. Placing her hoof on his shoulder, Neo turned his eyes from Bloodstrider. Can I try? Seaver nodded briefly. Of course, stopped by closing her eyes. As distracted, Neo held his head high before shutting his eyes tightly. The entire world was dark and void, not a familiar sight in the slightest, yet with Bloodstrider beside him, the hairs along the nape of his neck stood on end. Vacate with the emotion you currently have drilling inside you, and breathe, slow and deep, Bloodstrider whispered. Neo slowly inhaled the air, filling his lungs to their full capacity before exhaling. Every zebra in our kind is not born blind. We chose to be so, but only after we have seen ourselves first. Those that choose to take up the gift of sight, it is a gift easily squandered. Let's try to lay a gentle huff on Neo's back. To give you a gift means to see the world anew. The world, its troubles, the anger, the regret, all gone. Now, what is it you feel now? Bloodstrider asked. Sinking in his stomach melted away, fabricating itself into a soft warmth deep within. Warm, sort of. If I move, what am I going to be? Bloodstrider requested. Tell me. Neo heard his voice speak to him. You're going to move closer to me, right? Why should it matter? He added. Where was I before? Where am I now? I don't know where you were, but you're to my left right now, Neo remarked. Indeed. And what do you feel? The softness lifted itself out of his body, clinging to his breath that left his being altogether. I feel content, but a little concerned still. It is good to be concerned now. Now is what's important. If you're concerned about what was, then you lose sight of what will be. And what will be, Neo? Lestrade queried. Sending his chest out, Neo held a firm posture. I'll find Adam, Neo stated, and then together we'll find our mother. Then that is what shall be, but only if you move on from what was. With the wound gone and healed, you can hold a new confection within you. Grow stronger, and worry less about the unknown, Bloodstrider said. Neo opened his eyes and looked at the chief, smiling. Thank you again, Chief Bloodstrider. When his eyes saw the plot of land his friend had been once Neo blinked. Rubbing both eyes, he frantically searched around the area. The zebra that had sit beside him was gone. The gentle breeze in the night he was there, only to fade away as easily as he came. Lester poked his hand outside a crack in the door. Searching around, his ears shifted and moved rapidly in all directions. Placing his visor on Neo, Lester sat down beside the door.
Neo, I heard talking. Who is out here?
Neo stood still, staring at Lester. It was Bloodstrider. Scanning the area around him once more, Lester shook his head.
I don't see him. I didn't hear him move.
Do you know where he went?
How did he get out here?
Smiling at Lester, Neo closed his eyes, holding his nose in the air. He inhaled the still night air deeply. I don't think it matters too much, my friend. Where he was, or is, I don't think it matters. Seeing his head 3 times, Lester turned back to the open barn door.
As long as you're okay. If you need me, I'll be here.
Neo didn't reply. Holding his head pointing towards the night sky, his eyes shut gently. Took a breath of the air, feeling the tender warmth pervade the rest of his heart. Out on the big lot sat on opposite sides of a small square office. Desks, cabinets, and terminals were all moved to the walls, leaving a wide empty gap between the 2 ponies. The beige wallpaper on the walls were dirty and torn, with each torn end curling up the farther the paper went up along the wall. Dust smells lazily floating in the air, hovering just above the fractured white tile floor. A lantern set next to the office doorway sent a flickering yellow glow flowing into the room. All around the doorway's rims the golden rays poured into, giving whatever stood in its path a great dark shadow. A short chain connected to the big glass collar ran up the wall and over the ceiling, back down the opposing wall where it was laid to atoms. A sturdy iron stakes were punched through the feeble walls, holding the straight firmly to the building. Split tube stood in the center of the office. Massive shadow from the light beaming in through the doorway was cast against the wall. Smiling, he nodded at the series of iron pin stakes he had placed to hold the 2 slaves. Good! Lots of elder! Facing Big Tooth grinned. This here's what we call Lincoln. None of you can move without the other yanking on its necks. All you can do is sit still or lay down. The more you're bigger, the more miserable it gets. Both Big Lion and Al remained quiet as the slaver went on wagging one of his lanky hooves in the air. So no more fight. If I ever hear so much as a scuffle, I'll beat the living lie off you both. Siren came trying to break to his side with her two bowls and a pitcher of water, resting the tiny steel dishes in the center of the room. She carelessly poured the water to them, cackling. "I also please getting over your feelings. Get some water. Don't tell me how you're going to get. Figure it out." Laying a hoof on Siren's shoulder, Split back. "Siren, look, B. We got some hot watch tomorrow. Last thing they need to be bothering them any longer." "Whatever you say, Splitty. I'll just have a little fun is all." She laughed as making her way to the office door, puts her levitating over her shoulder. Big Lot rose her head, watching the two slavers vacate the room. Taking the knob of the door, Split sniggered. "Good night, my young pups," before briskly slamming the door, causing the walls to shake and shudder. Big Lot jumped into violent action, laying out a fake eat as the two were left alone. The entire area was pitch dark. Nothing could be seen, not the moats nor the furniture, not even the steel water bowls in the center of the room. Sitting in a little confined space, Big Lot searched through the darkness, hoping to see something. Carrying a little bottle, the filly whimpered, "It's so dark." Al looked down his pip buck, and switched the device lamps on. Instantly, the room became filled with an orange light. No longer did the space feel small or constricting. "Better?" Al asked with a smile. Big Lot nodded, deferring her eyes from his. Laying down his stomach, Al inspected his surroundings. Big Lot, however, had other intentions. Why did you fight them? Why didn't you let them beat me?" Facing the little one, Al raised an eyebrow at her. "Excuse me?" Looking her eyes into Al, she found, "I tried to kill you. If it weren't for that stupid chain, I would have done it too." Al was silent as she continued. "And you knew what I was doing. You knew I was going to kill you. Why didn't you help me?" Shaking his head, Al said, "I know what it's like to be scared. I don't think anybody, not even you, should be subjugated to something like this." Frown faded, replacing itself with a professing look of confusion. "So that's why you saved me?" "Well, that is something else." Al added in a hollow tone. "I made a promise to a friend of mine a while ago. I promised her I would never let harm come to anyone. The last time I watched my friend get hurt, I was too scared to act. But this time I told myself I wouldn't make the same mistake twice." Big Lot turned her gaze to the chain holding the two of them. Placing her from the cold iron leg, she growled, "You know, I could take this chain and put my full weight on it. Probably choke you or break your neck. Then I'd be rid of you." Adam kept a firm, concerned look. "Why do you want to kill me so bad?" Her eyes narrowed, cheeks became flushed with a hot red heat. "Because you killed my uncle! You ruined everything! Even those stupid other ponies!" Adam glanced at the forest tile to reflect the light coming from his pit buck. Closing his eyes outside, "I won't lie to you. I shot your uncle, though I'm not even sure he's dead." "Well," Big Eye flashed her teeth out, growling, "he's dead. No thanks to you." Making turn low, Adam muttered, "I'm sorry." Forcing herself up, Big Eye's legs had steadily wobbled. Just as she rose, her head up, searing pain burned up and down her neck. As she fell down to her haunches, whimpering at the constant string of splinters. Adam himself rose, a sitting hoof to her. "You okay?" Letting a hoof out, she bit down her lip, trying to drop of blood. "I'm fine." From a spot across the room, Adam remarked, "It doesn't look that way. The splinters that Slaver put you in need to be treated." "I said I'm fine!" she exclaimed, returning to the splinters, spouting low vulgar murmurs to herself in an attempt to relieve the stress of her injuries. Adam shook his head. "No, you're not. Listen, I can get him out. I had the short-range levitation ability in my pit buck. If you let me, I can clean and treat him." She looked at him silently, as the hard pain of the tiny pieces of wood bit at her flesh. Both of them stared as she had his eyes before Big Lot slumped to her side, facing back to Adam. "Please hurry," she mewed softly. Focusing on the large wooden pieces in her back, Adam went straight to work. Each piece, big or small, came out slowly, as she tried to remove them in the least painful manner possible. Still, she flinched and winced at every movement Adam made to dispose of the splinters. Shutting her eyes tightly, Big Lot held her hose tight to her chest. "So, what was it you're doing near my border anyway, when Skinner found you?" she grunted softly. "My big brother and I were looking for our mother," Alice said, keeping an unwavering stare at her back. Big Lot, outside of the pain, felt a frenzied emptiness fill her. "I
Never knew my mother.
Adam hadn't heard her comments. We were right on our trail before you picked us up. Right after we got out, we kicked right back to where we left off. That was until all this happened. Pulling out one of the largest, most jagged splinters from her back, Adam asked, "Was Cyrus your only family?"
The only one I ever knew.
Replied Big Lot. A sharp prick stung her back. "Ow! Careful!" Adam reeled back his head. Sorry, will happen again. There was a pause between the two ponies for a moment, till Big Lot broke the silence. Her voice was tinged with sadness, brought on by tears of longing.
Oh, how was he? Your mother, you know, as a parent?
Adam gave a warm smile.
I grew up in a stable alongside my brother. My father left my mother when I was born, only to end up passing. Some say he died in an accident, but nobody really knows. She had just left my brother and my mom to fend for herself.
It was a heavy sigh. Adam continued.
But she was the nicest pony you've ever met. She had the most tender eyes and softest voice. Even after Neil started living on his own, she never stopped loving us. We were a family who stood beside one another.
The painful removal of the splinter of wood from her back made Big Lot's voice shattered.
Well, why did he leave?
Adam shrugged.
I don't know. I was hoping to ask when we found her.
Looks like I won't get to for a while now. Seamlessly twirling her hose, Big Lot said,
Why are you helping me now? What have I done to deserve this affection?
Like I said, no one should have to endure this sort of pain, Adam answered. Pulling out the last of the splinters from her back, Adam shifted his head to the right, keenly inspecting the work he had done.
I think I got all of them.
Big Lot blinked, placing a hoof on her back. Despite the minor stings and the vacant wounds left by splinters, but no longer was there a searing bite that gnawed at her flesh. We're not done yet, Adam said, hovering one of the bowls to water to her back. I need to rinse out the wounds. At the very least, that'll help them from getting infected. Gently tilting the bowl, the cool, soothing water trickled down her back. A newfound feeling blossomed inside of her. It began in her chest as a warm fluttering, and that soon spread throughout her entire being. An uplifting sensation made her smile. Here, Adam declared, resting the empty steel bowl in the center of the room.
All better now.
Big Lot rolled over and sat up slowly. The feeling was even grayer standing up. Not a single burn or prick ached the skin of her back. Trying to feel the will to thank him, she kept her eyes low, silently rubbing her foreleg with one hoof.
Uh, thank you for helping me.
Adam chuckled. It was nothing. The little filly's mind was racing with conflicting emotion. The heat which had once burned so intensely inside her had vanished. Now, this odd feeling of affection and warmth replaced it. How? Why? What had he done? And more importantly, what was this emotion? Feeling her head throb into a dull soreness, she laid herself down on the tiles, turning her injured head back again to Adam.
I think I'm going to sleep. I feel tired.
Well, that sounds like a good idea. Adam started to a firm nod. The night's been long, and some rest might do us well. Laying herself down on the chilling cracked tiles, he yawned. Good night. Facing the old peeling wallpaper of the office's walls, Big Lot hastily added,
Wait,
Adam rose his head, looking at her. What is it? She was quiet for a moment, gulping. She whispered quickly,
what's your name?
Adam smiled. It's Adam. Shaking her head, she tightened up to the curl of the little ball she put herself in. Keeping absolutely silent, Adam was too quiet, resting his hand on his folded legs. Big Lot remained in her warm little spot in the room, staring at the wall. No pony, stallion, mare, or filly had acted the way he had to her. Not even her uncle spared her a gesture that could come close to what that sort of affection. It was jarring, and all she could do was sit there, debating with herself about what had just transpired, deep into the long hours of the night. Vladimir was frantically pacing himself in the room. Where is he? I said 5 minutes, it has been 10, he mumbled, biting his hoof. A sudden series of knocks came from the door, causing the end of his ears to stand on end. Brusquely spinning in the direction of the door, Vladimir rushed to answer it. Coming! He exclaimed, before pressing the button on the doorframe to open it. The heavy metal doors parted, sending off with a faint whoosh as they did. In the doorway stood a gray mare, blinking at Vladimir. Inspecting it briefly, Vladimir's eyes scanned her up and down. Stepping to the side, he gestured with a hoof for her to come inside.
Please,
He said,
come in. Do hurry along now.
She gave him a silent nod before trotting into the cabinet's room. She came in to Vladimir and noticed the horrible features of her scrawny legs. Lash marks, still fresh and clear, glazed the areas around her hooves. Like all of the slaves that lived in the mines, she had a slave collar tightly fastened around her neck. One hair was selected for orange mane, was tied up in a small, matted bun behind her head, held together by one dull copper pin. Sticking his head outside the doorway for a moment, Vladimir searched the hallway outside. Then stepping back into the room, he shut the door and turned to the mare.
I'm glad you can make it,
Vladimir said, making his way to the nightstand by the cot. She bowed her head to him.
I'm happy you insist, my lord.
Vladimir rose to her, energetically sternly.
Please do not call me that. Call me Vlad or Vladimir.
Again she bowed.
As you wish, my lord.
Vladimir shook his head.
Do you know what it is I need from you?
He asked, resting a hoof on the nightstand. She shook her head, averting her eyes away from him.
No, my lord.
Please,
Vladimir insisted.
call me anything but that.
Vladimir sighed and opened the only water drawer of the nightstand. From it, he removed a small, rectangular piece of dark iron, along with a red key card. Hovering inches from his side, he queried,
Do you know what these are?
She shook her head. I see the piece of metal he had.
This is an official Legion seal. As long as you hold it, no harm will come to you. More specifically, it bears my seal as well.
Deeming whatever it is you are sent to order directly from me. Lowering his eyes to the key card, he continued,
And this here is my key card. I have access to nearly every sector of this place.
What will you have me do?
the slave asked. Lowering his two eyes, Vladimir spoke in a strong tone.
There was a stallion, freelancer guardian from Kolpaloo's tower. He was recently captured and locked away. Want you to get his armor and take him with you here.
The slave stood still for a moment, taking in the orders given to her.
And what after?
If you do these for me, I'll grant both you and the guardian your freedom. All I ask is you to do this. No questions asked. And,
Vladimir stated.
remember, if you get any questions or remarks about what you're doing, show them that seal, and I'll grant you protected directly from me.
Vladimir took a step forward.
Can you do this?
The slave bowed her head and replied, I can. Vladimir went back to the door, pressing a button to open it.
Please, make haste. The sooner you do this for me, the sooner we can all be free.
He said, seeing the mare walk through the door now into the hallway. Several doors down the hallway, a dark mire, standing idly behind the door, poked his large glowing eyes over the edge. His gaze had been on Vladimir's chambers. With a more attuned sense of hearing, the conversation was more than clear to him. The only thing left to do was report his findings to the warden. The night had been long, and the sleep restless in the small office of the train station. Bigot had been silent from the moment their conversation ended to the current moment. Adam, on the other hand, twisted around in his sleep, shifting from position to position. Several places along his sides felt pressured, like some aching, overbearing weight was indebting itself on him. The clamorous shake and boom of the office door, swinging open, rattled the floor as 2 points slipped on. Adam rose his head quickly, turning his eyes directly to the entrance. His heart beat briskly as he panted, each catching a heavy breath. Bigot slowly got up, blinking her heavy eyes to the door.
What happened?
Light poured into the room, while a dark figure stood in the middle of the doorway. The pony's lanky frame cast his large shadow back wall of the office. His big yellow eyes stared down at the 2 ponies as he gave them a shattered grin.
Here, wake a wakey, eggs a bakey, my pups. Time to get up,
The dark pony boomed. Adam squinted his eyes before raising his hoof over his brow to dim the blinding light, but again,
It's time already.
taking a few steps forth, the shadowy curtain that blanketed the pony's features faded. Split tooth, with all of his distorted yellow teeth exposed and a crooked smile came to view. Lowering his head down to Adam, he puckered his lower lip, banging his eyelids at the buck. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I block you? Should I go? Raising himself up, he lifted a hoof and smacked down behind the head. Too bad! We're moving out! Siren stepped into the room, along with 2 unicorn slavers. She's smiling at the big lot, twirling to herself. Like it, sleepy cakey. Time and eyes and enjoy the day. Slavers had followed her, starting to unlace the pins from the walls. The ceiling is split 2 flats. Today's the night, my pups. Today I'm funning with you lot. Piglet stood up, rubbing her eyes. What? No, you can't. Moving to the little filly, he stood over her, smiling. Oh, I think I can, my little pup. Piglet stepped back, shaking her head. What? You can't do this to me. People's wet eyes, Piglet's ears flattened against her head. I don't want to. You can't make me. Narrowing her eyes, split to scowl. What? You have to go home. See your mum. The filly was silent. Little body was shaking as Slate removed his face closer to her. I bet he did, but it ain't gonna work that way. You're mine, and soon you'll be theirs. There's nothing you could do about it, neither. Sarah slapped her hoof on the ground, forcefully bursting out into a loud, uncontrollable fall. Splitsy, do you see the look on her face? Taking his dusty green hoof, Split rested on Bacon's cheek, moving her terrible little head as he inspected her facial features, nodding, purring to himself. I might say you're a nice specimen, so don't worry none. You sound nicely, so much as you behave. Slavers working on a chain that linked the 2 slaves together stepped back. Move out of the way. Chain's coming down. Splitsy and Siren moved from the center of the room as one of the slavers pulled the last pin of the ceiling. Once removed, the chain came jarring down a broken tile on the floor. Rattling thunderously throughout the room, the iron link shattered even more of the tiles to fine sharp pieces. Adam stood up, feeling the heavy chain pull at his collar. Pushing along, Splitsy smacked her square on the back. Now get moving, the both of you. I want you to get there nice and early. Out of the office door, the 2 slaves went, guided by Siren. Biggot was shaking violently as he trailed Adam from close behind. Split eyed him keenly. Now saw the corner of his eye, the threatening stare of the slaver. With his firm gaze fixing on him, little could be done to help them escape. But Biggot was shivering vigorously, looking down on the cold ground solemnly. Never had he seen someone quite as mighty as her acting such a matter. Adam smiled, looking over his shoulder at her. Listen, Biggot. She looked down with shimmering eyes. What? The filly murmured. We'll be okay. You'll be okay. I promise, said Adam. Hi! Splintooth barked, charging into him. Get, you little git! Reeling back, Adam put his eyes forward again. Smoothed the rest of the slaves in the central room out the train station's main lobby. Linking the 2 ponies to the main chain line, 2 slavers hooked themselves up to the cart. Pacing himself quickly up and down the slave line, Splintooth peered at every slave each one stood behind, the next stiffly. Prying back up from the front of the group, Splintooth belled, Keep moving, you want! Now! Pressing onward, the slaves went with the slavers, hovering along the sides of the line. Like before, Bill was placed in front of Adam. Poking his nose over his shoulder, Bill whispered, Hey, Adam? Adam blinked at Bill. What?
You okay? What happened to you last night?
As the slaves went out through the double doors of the train station, the cool brisk air blew gently across their cuts. Adam shivered, feeling the cold blow right through him. Nothing, really. In the end, I turned up okay, right?
Bill sighed. I'm glad for that, Adam. But today's the day, Adam.
Peeking over his shoulder, Bill looked at Big Lot, who shuffled groggily behind Adam.
Do you think they're coming for us? Will she be okay? Is she okay?
Don't worry about her, Adam replied, shaking his head. I'll watch her. If anything happens, I'll be sure to be there for her. The sky was blanketed with a bleak grayness, covered in white beaming lights were cracking the sudden clouds. Trying to break through the dense layer, the light never seemed to puncture the thick cloud cover. With no sun, already the cold world just became colder, and colder on their way to the dark mines. The morning was still very bleak. A cold wind blew along the rocky earth as the sky overhead seemed to be tinged with a darker gray, a shade of gray than usual. Equestria was at the end of the group with his 3 other companions, but the moment they had left Tiger Company's barn, the zebra remained completely silent. Neil trotted up to the head of the group, leading him in the direction of the dark mines. Occasionally he would peek over his shoulder at Bloodstrider, who simply kept it behind at a steady pace. Placing his eyes forward, Neil shook his head. Since the conversation he had with the zebra chief the night before, there was not a single feeling of dread sinking with him, nor there was any indications to worry about what might be. Just the task before him was clear. Reach the dark mines and save the ones they had lost. Allie came trying next to Neil, looking at him. Neil, you okay? Neil blinked, turning his eyes to her. Hmm? Oh, well, I'm fine, I suppose. Great, actually. Why do you ask? It's just you keep looking back at Tiger Company warriors. Did something happen last night? She asked. A brief moment of silence pervaded the two of them for a moment. Neil sighed to look over his shoulder at Brotherhood. We had a talk. Since then, I've been feeling content, confident even. Allie smiled at him. There shouldn't be anything to worry about. With him at our side, we'll find your brother. Can't be that hard, can it? Neil nodded, taking a deep breath. You're right. I don't think it'll be quite that hard. We did escape the border, didn't we? Nudging Neil in the shoulder, Allie laughed. That's the spirit. Before the group lay a large hill. To the left of them, out some dozen or so miles in a massive flat clearing where the hill seemed to vanish. You could see the tiny black tracks of the Legion Railway mark the horizon. Two socks pointed to them, bounding giggling. The tracks! The tracks! We're getting close! His heart began to beat at great speed. His breath became light as a tingly, salty energy spread itself throughout his legs. Running faster and faster, Neil smiled as they climbed down the hill before them. Trudging up a steep, rocky slope, a new scent carried on the chilly breeze. The heavy, bitter smell of burning coal filled his nose. Burning his brow, Neil glanced at the rancid odor. Placing himself over his muzzle, burying his face in his sleeve, Neil coughed. What is that smell? Dark mines, Wester uttered. Tears started to blow in the corner of Lucy's eyes as he let out 3 hacking coughs. Damn, smells like iron huff. Pressing the top, Neil dropped himself to the ground, digging his toes into his jagged ground. We're almost there, he called to the others. And at the top of the hill he froze. Neil's watering eyes went wide as his mouth hung open. In a moment the others joined him at the top of the hill, stopping next to him, gazing headlong at the scene before them. When the entire group was gathered at the top, all were silent. Mountains, dark and bare of vegetation, stretched as far as the eye could see both left and right. The clouds overhead were charged with a deep, somber black. The bright, twisting cracks of white sunlight faded into darkness. The sun's efforts to burst through the layer completely disappeared. In the distance, the deserted skyscraper towered high into the sky. Like a dense forest of steel, concrete, and brick, each were tightly huddled around each other near the base of the mountain. In the absence of proper care, many tops of the structures had fallen off into the condensed streets below. Within the smaller, more abundant derelict buildings of the city were tiny glimmering green lights dimly flickering below. Embedded to the mountainside were tall iron smokestacks with plumes of risen acid smoke spewed to the clouds below above. Buster walked by Neo, sniffing the air. Neo, a quiet sneeze, he said,
It's a dark place.
Alec gulped down your head. They're in there?
Indeed,
Blue Strider answered calmly.
you must summon all our courage to brave that place and live.
Looking at Neo, Bloodstrider cocked his head to the side.
Are you ready to brave the task at Hoof?
Closing his eyes, Neo gulped. Breathing in thick, putrid, polluted air, he nodded. This was the task at hand. What might happen mattered not, for as long as he was determined, Neo could find his brother. Opening his eyes, Neo held a firm posture, giving his back a straight, and his shoulders relaxed. I'm ready. Lucy came to Neo, resting a hoof on his shoulder. He made a playful smirk, she added, We're all ready. Footnote. Level up. New perk. Each chapter unicorn. When interacting with unicorns, you gain +5 in charisma. Footnote. Level up. New perk. The monkey. You gain a +2 in borrowing per level gained. Additionally, when speaking to wandering traders, you unlock some unique dialogue options.